Scrabdackle.
Okay, here's a basic room in Scrabdackle. It looks simple, but it is full of procedural generation. The trash, trees, reeds, mushrooms, dirt clumps, sticks, moss on the wall, and cracks in the floor are all procedurally generated. Most of Scrabdackle takes place outdoors, and for an environment to feel organic and natural, it has to feel varied. That also helps things not feel monotonous to the player when they're exploring one area for a long time. Something more organic, or that gets reused in high proximity, needs more variations. Here's how things might look if every tree and plant was identical, for instance. To accomplish that, most decoration in Scrabdackle is made up of a collection of pieces. Then those pieces are randomly selected, arranged, colored, sometimes even animated, every time I place an object into the game. That's procedural generation, or PCG. Procedural generation can seem really daunting, but you can actually use it in really simple targeted ways to make a huge difference. Here's a room in the ruins that's decorated. I'll hide the dark clouds visual overlay here. And now here's the same room without decoration, and without any special textures to the floors, and without any special textures for the walls. This before and after should help show the difference all this work has on making a scene feel alive or not. Not that the ruins are particularly alive. So other than creatures like enemies, there's 6 art asset types in Scrabdackle. Object decals, or detritus, is something loose that blue usually doesn't interact with, like a pebble, a stick, a mushroom, a flower, but can still walk around. It's in the world. An obstacle is something that has collision and generally can't be walked through, which blue might interact with, like a bush, a spiky plant, a cracked boulder. It usually has a footprint of 1 or 2 tiles in the game. A wall decal is a piece of art meant to be placed directly on a wall, like a duck flag or a piece of cracked earth on a rocky face. It's used sometimes for specific art pieces, but more frequently it's for variation in a really long continuous wall texture, or when one area uses the same wall really frequently. A floor decal is a piece of art meant to be placed on the ground layer, below all the walls, only on the lowest ground level, like a lightning impact burn in the ruins, or a flower patch in the Ducklands. A path tile set is used for the lowest ground layer to vary if the texture blue is walking on. They can't go on top of walls, but 2 can be used in conjunction with the room's floor color to get a lot of variance. In Junk Heap, the ground is gray, but green marshy swamp tiles and brown earthy tiles are blended to give more variety. I keep trying to record this and my cat is running up and down the stairs over and over and over outside my room. And a wall tile set is more complicated, but essentially it's the building blocks that make up the collision of the world that blue interacts with and can climb on top of. These are complicated enough that I'm not really going to go into them here. They could probably be their own devlog someday in the future. And to wrap that showcase up, here's a room that's decorated on one side and not on the other. Hopefully you can see the difference there. So when I'm getting started decorating a new area, I usually take a screenshot of an undecorated room, open it up in Sprite, and just sketch on it for a while to see what ideas make sense, and to play with shapes and colors. When I start to feel good about what I've got mocked up, I go through asset by asset to figure out what components are going to be needed for each one, and what elements about them I want to randomize, like color, position, or variety of shape. We can take a look at that with this tree. To make it look truly random, there's 3 different art elements, the stalk and 2 sizes of boughs. There's a few stalk types that can be flipped horizontally, a few of each type of bough, and some color variations for each bough type. The PCG determines a random stalk to use, checks where boughs could go, decides if it wants to fill all those possible locations or not, then picks some random boughs to place in some of those spots. The animations for the trees blowing in the wind are pre-built, but they work regardless of which asset is used. And I also start playing the animation loop at a random position, so that even similar tree generations don't seem to be animating identically. It can get even more complicated than that though. Something like a garbage pile needs to look organic as well, in a really messy way. For this, I actually have 6 art elements for the pile itself, plus a randomly chosen splatter underneath it. The individual shapes are randomly chosen, but are drawn so that the pile looks organic no matter what combination gets selected. Simple PCG is actually really easy to approach as long as you plan how you want to use it in advance. It's not much work for me to make sure the stalk, head, and petals of this flower are randomly chosen and colored, or that each part of this plant randomly chooses from a list of shades of red, or that even every stray pebble chooses from one of a few options. None of these pieces are individually hard to draw or even time-consuming to rig together. I only had to plan out the overall workflow once, back in the early stages of development, and now, as long as I know what I want to make, I can usually draw it, rig it into the engine, and configure its procedural generation pretty quickly. Most of the art files used for the decor are sprite sheets I draw with plain white fills and black outlines, and then I replace any colors in Godot as I'm rigging it up to suit the environment. But thanks to procedural animation, all the pieces come to life while you're playing the game. Thanks for watching! If you're interested in Scrabdackle, you can follow me here for more videos like this, join the Discord server to hang out with the community and talk lore, or try the demo on Steam if you haven't already. It's maybe 2 hours or so. It's pretty big, it's a chunky one. Links are in the description, and see you next time.